Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Dark Souls 2, the best Souls game in the Souls series. Today we're gonna pick up all the cool items that I missed in the forest last episode, but before we do that, I promised you I'd kill the Pursuer, and I would do it without using the Ballista. And this is also gonna be a great opportunity to show you how great the Craftsman Hammer is. So let's get right to it. So we're gonna go to the Lost Bastille. I just love that you can warp at any point in this game. It just makes everything so much quicker. And if you remember, I distinctly avoided this door down here last time. Do the same thing we did before. Knock this guy off real quick. Knock the barrel down. And I've always liked this room because you just know it's a trap. Like, you walk in here, there's nothing visible, and you see this chest way at the back. Like, you know there's something that's going to get you, and if you felt that way, you were correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk towards the end and just listen. Yep, there's the Pursuer. So he follows you around the game. So this is how much the longsword does, like 118-ish. And I'm going to show you how much the Craftsman Hammer does. Yeah, it's over double. It's just so strong, it's ridiculous. So the trick to beating this guy is he has two attacks that you don't actually need to roll to dodge. You just hug him and strafe to the right and he'll miss, and this is one of them. And that just gives you some free hits. And this is how you would beat him back in the forest as well. If you don't, you won't have this weapon when you fight him there, but he's not too hard to dodge. You can beat him with whatever you have, and you know, you can just buy a mace from the blacksmith if you want, and that'll be perfectly fine as well. So if you remember last time I talked, I said there's a sawtooth at the beginning of the level, so you can't actually go back to the bonfire we came from. And that item I just picked up there, one of the items in that chest, is called a Fragrant Branch of Yore. And it's a very special, like, key item in this game. There's, I believe, 16 special frozen people. They're petrified. And there's 17 Fragrant Branches of Yore, which unpetrify them. And they unlock everything from special items, unique areas, even areas you probably should go to. They unlock both boss weapon blacksmiths. They're very important. And I'll be showing you in this run which ones you should use them on and which ones are just optional extra items, since you won't actually know without looking it up. So I'm just gonna go over here real quick. Yeah, also another thing, this game is so much easier than Dark Souls 1. You can just tank hits from it. Like, I'm base HP, and you can just tank hits from the enemies. It's no big deal. Like, so many less things are, like, one or two shotting you in this game. Anyway, so I said you were stuck unless you used a homeward bone, used your dark sign, or died. And if you didn't want to die, or, you know, some die equivalent, if you missed the barrel that blows up the wall over there, you would have to go down there, grab the Fragrant Branch of Yore from the chest, run over here, unpetrify him, which we won't be doing right now, because we have other plans for it, don't worry. You would have to unpetrify him and then go beat a boss, and then go to the next bonfire, and if you're unprepared for the boss, or if you just lose because it's your first time seeing him, then you're screwed. And I'm just going to show you real quick, you actually can't get back to that bonfire without homeward bones, etc. Yeah, this is just, you're just stuck. Anyway, we came here, that's how you beat the Pursuer, and that's everything I wanted to show you for now. So now, we're just going to go to the forest, and we're just going to take a nice, chill, leisurely pace through it. And just, I'm just going to show you all the easy items to pick up, the good ones, fun weapons. There's a lot of early game weapons there that are nice. There's a couple of rings. It'll be a good time. So just sit back and relax. We're not going to run through like 5 zones. We're not going to kill a bunch of bosses like we did last time. the first things we're gonna do is we're gonna climb up here. Now, if you come, if the, excuse me, if you run up here without killing the, oh my gosh, hardest enemy in the game. If you run up here without fighting the pursuer, he'll actually spawn in on a bird and fly down in a unique one-time event where you get to fight him in this little area. And you have one chance to either beat him or lose. And if you beat him, it actually counts as beating him and you don't have to fight him on the ramparts. And if you lose, then you don't get another chance and you have to go fight him on the ramparts. It's so weird. It's like a Souls first that you would ever have like one chance to fight a boss in a unique location and then never again. It's just crazy. Anyway, I never do it. It's just use the ballista cheese, or the way I just showed you. Anyway, one of the items I picked up here is an Estus Flask Shard, which gives us another sip of our drink, so that's great news for us. And we're gonna be making a jump over here. Yeah, this weapon is so strong. It's completely unupgraded. I have absolutely minimum stats. It takes 20 strength to use. I have 11, which means if I two-hand it, I have exactly 1 more strength than I need. So this guy's pretty important. If you talk to this man, his name is Kale. He lives in the mansion in Majula, the one that was locked, the one way in the back. And we want to get inside to get the items. So if you just spam talk to him, you tell him you like maps, and he's like, wow, I like maps, and he gives you the key to the mansion. Isn't this nice? We don't have to kill any bosses, we can just run around, pick up all the nice items. There's some, I believe there's some Titanite shards down here, which is the basic weapon upgrade item. So we're gonna go pick those up. And a little cool thing here, you can actually see another part of the level. And we can go there now, but we won't be doing that. Oh, and one more thing, I'll be keeping track of how many times I've died this run. I haven't died yet, but spoilers, I probably will be dying. So I've beaten this game pretty easily without dying before, but that was in a run where I just beat the game. Like I said, in this run I'm going to be doing everything I can. I'm going to be killing every boss, and there's a couple of bosses I haven't fought in like a year or two, and I'm probably not going to kill them on my first try. So once I do die, we'll be keeping track of how many deaths I have after I get my ass beat by this Ninja Turtle. So fun fact, you can get this guy's armor, and it's just so cool. You get to be a Ninja Turtle for the rest of the run. Maybe I'll farm some cool stuff off screen. Anyway, if you remember last time, we blew open this wall, and that is not the way you're supposed to do it. So real quick, I'll show you the right way that you're supposed to do it. So what I did last time is there's a pile of explosives on the other side of the wall, and there's that guy that throws the bombs, and he'll hit those if he misses you, and that will blow up the wall. However, when I angled it down, the explosion area clipped the explosions on the other side, and it blew up the wall from the room I was in. There's a couple of weak enemies over here. I'll show you this real quick. So this door. So you got a key after you beat the last giant, and that unlocks this little area. However, you're greeted immediately with another locked area, which shows you that this is a place you come to much later in the game. And the forest is actually a completely mandatory area, unlike the vast majority of Dark Souls 2. And you have to come here at the very end of the game. And once you find a way to unlock these doors, these big dark doors with the design on them, it says produce the symbol of the king. You don't have to do it. Oh, and there's a Grand Lance over here. So there's a lance weapon type in Dark Souls 2, which I'm very much fond of. Spears, I think, are terrible. I think they've been terrible in every Souls game. I hate spears. I absolutely hate them. Yeah, there's the lance. However, lances are like... Think of them as like the great swords of spears. They have a lot of poise damage. They're not very competitive, but this is for fun, and lances are just awesome. I'll show you a lance later in the game, don't worry. Anyway, what you would have done if you didn't blow up the wall is you would go down the ladder here, and then you would just take a left, and you'd come right to this fog wall. And this is going to look really familiar because we were just here. Oh look, that's where we were when we just picked up all those items. And straight ahead, that cave over there is where we met Kale and got the key to the mansion. Oh, this is going to be funny. So you can come up here right away once you've touched the bonfire. And so this door is locked if you haven't killed the last giant. It just says locked. However, you're actually able to get into it, and it's very easy. As you can see, the door's kind of broken. Excuse me, sir. As you can see, the door is broken, and you can actually just break the door with your weapons. Yeah, that's not something you ever do again in this game. And, so if you don't have the key, you can get in anyway by breaking the door, which you might think, wow, is this something I'm gonna have to look out for later in the game? The answer is no, it's a unique door mechanic. And it's actually not even the only unique door mechanic in this area. There's another stupid one that you also never do again. Like I said, embrace the jank. It doesn't make any sense. So I just killed a crystal lizard there for 2 titanite shards. For whatever reason in this game, they made them incredibly difficult to hit. So your weapon hitbox is like very specific. When you swing it, it just swings in front of you. And you can see how it hits the ground it hits the ground near my left foot. And that would be the only point of the weapon where I could actually hit the lizard. And that's the same for every weapon. So for example, here's my hand axe that I just picked up. I'm swinging horizontally. None of these would hit the lizard, even if I locked on. So I did a jumping attack to hit it, and there's a bunch of lizards in this game with, you know, obviously very good upgrade materials like they normally do. And you actually just need a weapon to hit them. They're just so hard to hit for no reason. It's ridiculous. So I urge you to get good at the jumping attack. You just hit forward and the right trigger at the same time, like this. And if you hit them at the same time, or, you know, thereabout, you'll do a jump attack. And pretty much every weapon can hit them with the jumping attack. Also, jumping attacks are just good for a lot of things in this game. We'll talk about NPC invaders later, but their AI just doesn't detect it. You can just wind up and do a jumping attack and they won't roll out of the way, they won't block, they won't do any of that. Actually, let's go back to Majula for a second, and I'll show you the mansion. So that's that big building way in the back. And it is locked until we find Kale and get the key from him. So I just picked up a Pharaoh's Lockstone, and it's almost like a second Fragrant Branch of Yore, except while those do a lot of very high-end things like unlocking new areas, unlocking blacksmiths and stuff like that, Pharaoh's Lockstones are only optional goodies. And to compensate for that, there's a lot more places to put them, and you can farm up an infinite amount of them. However, early on you're kind of bottlenecked, so I went and picked one up because we're going to go use one in the forest, so I can show you what it looks like. And there's a skeleton down here, but we need to craft some hammer, so he dies in 2 hit, even though he has like 1,000 health. Yeah, so this game's very big on weapon damage types, like slash, strike, and thrust. And strike it's good for the whole game, but it's incredibly strong for the early game. Also, I just picked up 2 items there. I picked up a second Estus Flask shard, so we're now going to have 4 sips from our drink. Great. And I also picked up a soul vessel, and what that does is if you go back to those hags and things betwixt, you can give them a soul vessel, and you can just reallocate your stats. I believe there's 9 per new game cycle, so you can redo your stats 9 times. For example, if you messed up the adaptability, you can just fix it right then and there. Alright, so we're gonna... You have to go through this animation every time, even if I have 2 shards. I gotta say, Dark Souls 3 did that one better. Not something I'll admit a lot, though. We'll just level up a couple more times. I believe I was doing attunement. That to 10. And... yeah. So I bought the key from Melentia, who's now over here, by the way, and she sells infinite life gems. She'll just be here for the rest of the game. She's great. I bought the key from her for this door, and I didn't unlock this in either of the last 2 episodes. I'm also going to pick up a bow here. So, unlike Dark Souls 1, which is very unforgiving, if you don't have the stats for a bow, which I've already leveled up, so I do, if you don't have the stats, you just get punished by how much stamina it costs and how much damage you do. So if you need to shoot things like switches, which is something you'll have to do in this game, or if you just want to hit enemies to aggro them, you can just use a bow without any of the stats to use it. So, just another way that this game is very forgiving. You don't need to talk to him. Once you open the door and reload the area, he'll be back. Anyway, we got our Ferrous Lockstone, so we can get back to the forest, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Rather, I'm going to show you what they look like, since you have no idea what I'm talking about if you haven't played this game. So we already covered that area. Here's another area we ran through. I'm going to pick up some moss. I already did that. Anyway, go in this room. Oh no, it's a trap. Yeah, just don't stand still when you walk in the room. It's not that difficult. There's a spell on the ground, which is fine because it's just a regular spell. But I don't think that happens much in other games, other Dark Souls games. Okay, guys, chill. Damn, I'm good at this game. Yeah, like I said, you can just tank hits. This game is very, very forgiving. Anyway, yeah, there's just a spell on the ground, and it happens a couple other times in this game. Like, not in a chest, not in anything. So we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna open this, and this chest is trapped. And it's random which trap it is. There's only 2. It's poison and a crossbow. The poison one is useless because you just walk away. The crossbow one, you just roll behind it or roll out of the way. I'll show you when we get one. So this is a Ferrous Lockstone. It looks like a face. And it's right at the height of your crotch. Anyway, if you have a lockstone, you just use it. You put it in the mouth. And somewhere, the light will glow. And a face will appear. And what you do is you just hit it. And the item we wanted from this is the Chloranthy Ring. And that increases your stamina regeneration, which I think it's worth picking up early. Ferrous Lockstones aren't in high demand. Generally, once you know where all the items are, you can just use the ones you want and then keep going. So we're going to equip that. Anyway, remember how I said there's... it was not only the it was... I'm sorry, give me a second. The unique door mechanic where you have to break the door down to get in. Well, here's another one. Wait, this door is locked normally if you don't have the soldier's key, and I think maybe it's locked anyway. Anyway, the way you get through this door, you can see it's not broken. How do you get in? The answer is you knock. Knock, knock. And then the enemies inside will open it for you. And you never see it again. What's the point of that? It's not something you have to learn how to do. It's just, they just did it. And they didn't give a fuck. God, this game is so much jank. I absolutely love it. It is a masterpiece. So we got a life ring, we can equip that. Watch how much my health goes up. Did you see it? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Once we get a better ring, we're gonna throw this in the garbage. We also picked up a large Titanite shard down there, so if we want to upgrade one of our weapons, we can. Now there's this area. So this is Pate. They basically split up Patches into two personalities, and they fight each other in this game. It's really dumb. Definitely one of the worst decisions they made. He has a nice posh British accent though, so we can listen to that for a second.
Hello there. Traveling all alone in these treacherous times.
Anyway, he tells you don't go in here because the gate's gonna close. Yeah. So we're gonna go in here. I'm gonna equip the broadsword just to show you something. So when you one-hand a weapon, you do, or when you two-hand a weapon, you do more damage. But in this case, you swing close to your body. But if I one-hand it, you actually kind of lunge forward when you swing. So if I'm fighting a lot of enemies, a tip is to one-hand your weapon. And you can actually keep them at bay. Because you can see everything gets stunned at this point in the game with one hit. So keep that in mind if you're struggling with fighting a lot of enemies at once. As you can see, I'm doing a great job with these guys. So you're locked in, you have to proceed through. So one thing to note about healing in this game is it's actually very interesting. So I haven't talked about life gems yet. Life gems are a consumable healing item, much like the grass from Demon Souls. And what you do is you just use one and it slowly recovers your health. And they're kind of a contentious point in the Souls community because infinite healing kind of breaks the challenge of the game. But personally, I love them. I absolutely love them because, I don't know, it's just, I feel like I don't need to prove anything anymore. I don't need to die 100 times in a certain area before I get through. I don't need to get grounded, you know, they don't need to grind me out of healing. I just always have enough. And they actually did a very good job because to compensate for having quote-unquote infinite healing, it heals you very, very slowly. So, in addition to your Estus, which also heals you slowly, but after you know, perform the drink animation, your health goes up rather rapidly. The life gems make it go very slowly. And another thing, so when you drink, you're frozen in place, so you can't move. But when you pop a life gem, you can actually keep walking. So I use that a lot to space out groups of enemies if I'm being chased and I need to heal up. It's just nice to have a, you know, you have an arsenal of healing items and you get to choose which one is best for each scenario. It just makes, I don't know, it makes everything seem more cerebral, I guess. In a way, it's the minor things. Anyway, you do that and he gives you the White Sign Soapstone. And that's the basic co-op item. If you want to play with your friends, you have to run here, run through that and get it. And it's what lets you put down your white sign and you can play with your friends. So yeah, keep that in mind if you're planning on doing co-op, you have to go get that. And there's another soul over here. So there's a jump coming up that I'm going to try exactly one time, and if I fail it, I'm not going to try it again. Because I'm terrible at it. And it's from here to there. Yeah. I believe it's like 800 souls and a torch? I don't know. You get one shot. Anyway, before we do that, there's a cool little thing that this game has to offer. And you'll see here, this is your introduction to it. As you can see, you have a light source, which this game has a game mechanic of. You can see you pick up torches and you can have them, and they cast light on things. I think originally it was going to be a bigger thing, but there's really not much left of it. Anyway, you can notice there's a shadow of a man sitting down over there. And what that is supposed to indicate to you is that there's an invisible enemy there. And the way you reveal these invisible enemies is when you have a light source. So in this case, this is a fixed light source. You'll always be able to see it until I kill him. But in the future, they could be anywhere, and unless you have a torch on you, you won't know where they are. So there's a ton of these guys scattered throughout the game that are completely invisible unless you stumble upon them or use a torch to find them or look up where they are. And what they do is, after you kill them, they drop a smooth and silky stone, which is like the medium tier bird roulette item. So in this game, instead of trading one specific item for another, you just cash in one of like 5 different tiered items and it gives you a random reward. So yeah, that's fun. You get to play bird roulette with that. Alright, here's the stupid jump. Ugh. Oh my god, I made it. I'm an absolute legend. I deserve to die here. Wait, I was kidding. Okay. God, this game is just so relaxing. I don't need to worry about getting killed by these enemies. I don't need to dodge out of the way. I just tank all the hits and life gem it back up. And it sounds sarcastic, but that's genuinely one of my favorite things about this game. It's the only Souls game I can play and just genuinely relax while I play it. Like, I think I could beat this game in my sleep. It's just so nice. Anyway, I skipped a chest, and it is one of the worst items in the game. It is the Mail Breaker. It's a shield-piercing thrusting dagger with the Rapier moveset. And while all that sounds great, I think it has like 40 base damage, which is just not enough. Oh god, it's terrible. So as you can see, I'm using a very liberal use of the jump attack. So we're gonna kill someone over here real quick. The TMN turtles. Yeah, this thing does so much damage. And I guess I'll show you later in the game, but it scales poorly compared to other weapons of its class. I think it's a hammer class, just like the mace, which is a better scaling weapon, but you get this thing for free. Anyway, I always thought this was a cool area. It's this giant sword from a statue that fell down, and there's an item at the end of it. So naturally, you're supposed to go to the end, and once again, it's a trap. All these guys fall down and try and kill you. And the item up there is a halberd. Now, halberds and reapers in this game have the sweet spot mechanic. And what that means is, when you hit an enemy, you have to hit them with the very tip of your weapon. Otherwise, you do a third of the stated damage. And while that is terrible, they also have incredibly high base damage, and I like them anyway because it's just a fun thing to pay attention to. You need to space out your enemies properly, and you get rewarded for it. So there's an early halberd, if you would like to use one in your playthrough. Down here is just a life gem, I think. A shield. Oh, quick thing about shields. So, and this applies to every Souls game. If it's your first time playing, you know, do whatever you do. Do whatever you gotta do to make it through. You know, these games are hard. So whatever you have to do to beat the game, to beat your first Souls game, absolutely do it, you know, no judging. However, if you're a Souls veteran, don't use a shield. You don't need to block. It makes the game slower, it's not good game design, it sucks. Don't use a shield. The only acceptable shields are the ones that make your stamina regen faster, the ones that increase your item find, and the ones that increase your soul find. And you can just firmly keep that on your back. Oh, and of course the shields where you just hit enemies with them, that is of course acceptable because that is more of a weapon. But yeah, the whole block, parry, attack back mechanic, you have so many options as far as movement and everything, you don't need to do any of that. Man, he's got moves. Look at that guy. So I realize this has been a very long episode, but we're nearly done clearing out the forest. So if you'll notice there, the reason I didn't jump is because I wasn't running, and the reason I wasn't running is because I let my stamina deplete, which is what I warned against in the very first episode. So that one's on me. I do want that item. Yeah, here's another area where it looks like you can't actually walk on it, but of course you can. Human effigy. Yeah, so as you can see, this is a massive level. This is all just... You could have done all of this before you fought the first boss. And like I said before too, this level's even bigger because you have to come back here later. And there's actually a key to the second DLC in this area, which is in that fiery area that we won't be going to right now. I'm so lazy, I should just fight these guys properly. These guys have a really annoying attack that they fall back onto you and it looks hilarious. But it's actually very quick. It's much quicker than it looks, so you'll be hit stunned before you can react. So just don't walk up behind him. They literally put him there to teach you that mechanic with his back facing you. And when you get that armor, if you do farm it up, the chest piece, it actually makes you immune to backstabs, which is kind of cool for PvP. I'm just gonna bait out his attack. Do one jump and one regular, because this item does so much damage. So anyway, let's talk about elemental damage. So, as with all single-player games, not every element is perfectly balanced. You know, for multiplayer, they put much more of a focus on that sort of thing. And in this case, multiplayer was never really the focus of Dark Souls. It's more of something for fun, something you could do with your friends. Anyway, in this game, there are 4 elemental damage types. There is magic, lightning, dark, and fire. And I'm not talking about spells now, because spells all do those types of damage as well. I'm purely talking about what you infuse your melee weapon with, like what damage type. And you can actually just look at the list of every enemy and look at their resistances to different elemental damage types. And it just turns out, as it turns out, they're not created equally. So, in the grand scheme of things, lightning is very good. I think there's one boss in the game that even remotely resists lightning. And the other 40 of them are either neutral or weak to lightning. Lightning is great. Lightning is a really good damage type. So put lightning on your weapon. Dark and magic are pretty good. There's a couple things that are weak to them and a couple things that resist them, but all in all, you'll do good extra damage. And fire is far and away the worst. And the reason for that is because a ton of enemies, well, none of them early game resist fire, or rather resist anything. A ton of enemies and a ton of bosses late game do resist fire, and as you keep using it later and later into the game, you'll realize you're just doing less and less damage for no reason other than you just picked the wrong type. And it's not that bad, it's just worse than the other ones. Anyway, what I picked up there is a fire longsword, and I see a lot of new players talk about this item. Like, they urge you to go get it. Get the craftsman hammer, don't get the fire longsword. So it seems okay now, and the reason for that is purely because this isn't a special item, it's just a longsword with the fire enchantment on it, or rather the fire infusion on it. And the reason it's good now is because A, nothing resists any elemental damage type, and B, the longsword is a really, really good weapon. It has a fantastic moveset, it has low stat requirements, it has high base damage, and I'm not showing it off very well. Anyway, it seems great, but it's actually just okay. I wouldn't use this long term, and if you do upgrade it, I would either put a different elemental type on it, or I would just wipe the elemental infusion off of it altogether. But yeah, the longsword is a fantastic weapon, but fire is just, it's just weaker than the other ones long term, which is kind of a shame. And that being said, I think that'll about do it. So I hope you had a nice relaxing episode where we walked around the forest and collected all the items. I showed you how to get 2 new Estus flasks, I showed you how to get a bunch of souls, how to get a halberd, how to get a longsword, how to get some rings. So you can do all that before you fight the last giant. You can, upgrade your Estus flask, you can upgrade your levels, you don't have to run through it like I did, and you should be good to go. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a great time. And next episode, we're going to be going down that path over that way towards the sea through the rotunda. And we're going to be getting the item that we're going to be using for a little bit of the run. Anyway, hope you had a great time. I'll see you later. Bye.